Okay, I'm going to call to order the January 15, 2020 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. First item on our agenda is roll call.
Commissioner Lukacs. Here. Commissioner Teta. Here. Commissioner Poland. Here. Commissioner Shernick.
Here.
Commissioner Flagg. Here. Commissioner Glover. Here. Councilmember Rodriguez. Here.
All right. Next is communications from Don Burchett, our planning manager, please.
We have none, thank you.
Okay. Next is public invited to be heard. If there is somebody in the public who would like to come forward and speak about something that's not on tonight's agenda, we'd love to hear from you. The way it works is you get 5 minutes, and the last minute is a yellow light at the dais, and then I cut you off at the red light, but I'll do it nicely. Anybody want to come forward at this time? And please state your name and address for the record, and we'll wait until Jane gets back so that she can take notes. Great. Thank you. And you must be Ms. Halsey? All right. Okay. Please start. Oops. Dawn, can you help her with the microphone, please? Great. Okay, thank you.
Is this better?
Yes. Perfect.
I'm here to comment about the application at 15th and Alta, also known as 833 15th Avenue. My comments are the proposal is too dense for our neighborhood. The clustering and of affordable housing in our neighborhood is kind of unfair. Right now we have a nice balance between affordable and more dense and market rate not so dense homes. But I see in the future with this development, the proposed Terry Street townhomes in the Stone Yard, the balance is going to be off. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Halsey. Is there anybody else who'd like to come forward? All right, we'll close the public invited to be heard. We need to do some housekeeping items here. It's the first meeting of the year, so we need to elect a chairperson and a vice chairperson, approve our meeting schedule, our bylaws, and our posting locations, and also approve our minutes from our last meeting. So first thing is to go through the election of a chairperson, then we'll elect a vice chairperson. I've been informed that for those of you who've been on the commission for a while, we've done these elections in the past by writing down our votes. We will now do those as open votes. So it will probably work best if we do it by voice and by raise of hands simultaneously so that Jane can get an accurate count. But first we need to start with any nominations. Let's start with chairperson. Anybody want to nominate somebody to be chair? Commissioner Flagg.
I would like to nominate our present chairman.
Okay, we have a nomination of myself, Michael Shernick, for chair. Any other nominations for chair? Oh, by the way, do we need to treat it like a motion, like with seconds or anything? Or is a nomination just good enough?
Let me have a look at the bylaws.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Teta.
I always felt like it would be appropriate to find out if anybody wanted to throw their hat in the ring. Is that appropriate? What do you think of that?
Sure, I think we...
Self-nomination is permitted.
Okay,
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Would anybody like to nominate themselves? We'll find out details of our process here.
I see in the bylaws that each formal action required by law shall be embodied in a formal motion. In which case, I would recommend that there be a motion and a second.
Okay. So Commissioner Flagg, you're moving to nominate me for chair. Do we have a second to that? Commissioner Teta?
And seeing no one else interested in, I would second that
Okay.
motion.
All right. We have a second. So let's take a vote on that. All those in favor of me retaining the position as chair, say aye and raise your hand. Aye. All those against? Any abstaining? All right, so that seems to be, 6-0. Okay. So let's go on and nominate for a vice chair. Do we have any nominations, any self-nominations? I will go ahead and make a motion to nominate Michael Pollan as vice chair. Do we have any second discussions? Commissioner Teta?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Teta. Let's take a vote. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so we have elected Michael Pollan to be vice chair. Next is approval of the 2020 meeting schedule, which we received on our packets. Any discussion about that? Commissioner Pollan.
I move that we approve the 2020 meeting times.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the meeting schedule for 2020. I second the motion. Commissioner Lukacs, any further? Okay, all right. Any further discussion? Let's take a vote just like we did before, just a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, that passes unanimously. Approval of our 2020 bylaws. Any discussion about those? Commissioner Pollan?
Oh.
Oops. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. Any motions or discussion about the bylaws? Commissioner Glover? Oops.
There you go. Okay, sorry about that. Are there any changes proposed from previously?
No changes have been offered up by staff. No, I've not been made aware of any. Would anybody like to make any changes or propose any changes to the bylaws at this time? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the 2020 bylaws as they stand. Do we have a second? Commissioner Lukacs, seconded by, and don't forget to press your thing. Okay, so we have a second by Commissioner Lukacs. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? No, passes unanimously. We'll move on to the 2020 posting locations. I do actually have a question for Jane. I noticed that it says that the official posting locations are the bulletin board outside the city council chambers and the bulletin board at the west entrance of the Civic Center complex. Given the construction and the scheduling of the construction, and apparently these chambers are going to be reconstructed, is there the possibility that both of those locations would be inaccessible at the same time? And no? Okay. So the west entrance is always accessible? So on this, okay. So do we need to change the language in this in order to indicate a new location?
I would recommend that you do designate the north entrance until construction is complete.
Okay.
And then reverting back to the west entrance.
Okay.
I would also recommend that that you do the same sort of thing with the library bulletin board. Make that an official posting location during construction to cease when construction is complete.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney Tate. So Commissioner Lukacs?
I had a question on the posting locations for the social media. So in here, it says the agenda needs to be posted, but it doesn't happen on the social media accounts. It's just a link to the general commission page. And then from there, people have to scroll and find where the agendas are and then click on the agenda. So I don't think it's the same as posting it like we have here at the front door or at the library. So it's not the same thing. So I don't know if we need to rectify how we post on social media going forward.
Sounds like it might be a misunderstanding as to what the requirement was. Jane, in terms of actually posting the agenda? Yeah. So, but I've never actually gone to these sites.
I do.
Yeah. So the link that's getting posted is not going directly to.
It's
our
not going
agenda.
directly to the agenda. It's posted a picture, a stock photo with the planning and zoning
Okay.
title, and then the blurb has the link to the commission page, but
Okay.
not directly to the agenda.
So the link wouldn't go directly to the agenda because those agenda pages are taken down after a certain amount of time, which will break a link. We always link to the commission landing page
Okay.
where all of the meetings are listed in order, but I don't want to put a link out there that might break in the future.
Right.
If someone were to try to bookmark something and then the page goes away, that
Right.
creates.
Is it possible to put just a little, like some breadcrumbs, indications of what the breadcrumbs would be to find the agenda once they get to our main page?
There's a table out there with the link right there with the
Okay.
meeting date and the link to the agenda right there on the page that I post
Okay.
to social media.
Okay. So I'm hearing
I
you
mean,
say
that's the only, I link to the actual Planning and Zoning Commission page
right.
that
Okay.
has the link to the agenda.
So it's about as close of a hit as you can get.
That's as close as I can get
Okay.
without creating issues down the line with a link getting broken by
Right.
deleting those pages. I typically keep 6 months worth of meetings out there on social media
Right.
due to constraints in keeping all those documents available in our content management system. So if someone were to bookmark something or keep it for future use in their feed,
Mhm.
they may try to use that link again if I were to bookmark directly to the agenda, and it wouldn't work.
Right.
How about making pictures of the agenda, like breaking it down? Because I'm sure it won't fit in one page. So
Right.
just having
Um,
it straight out there for people to see and notice. I assume that's what the reason is for posting, for people to notice when something in their area is being discussed.
Yeah.
So
I think
they won't see it.
I think that's
The-
probably a bigger conversation for my web administrator
Right.
that I should have and see
Right.
what my options are.
Right. And
posting.
since we're talking about this, another possible option would be to link to an interactive PDF, because if you link to a JPEG of our agenda, then the links in our agenda don't work. So
Right.
So Jane, would you be willing to take that back to your web administrator and just indicate that getting, as Commissioner Lukacs is pointing out, getting a closer, direct hit to
Okay.
to our actual agenda,
Sure.
some
Sure.
way?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome, great.
Thank you.
Any more discussion about the posting locations? Commissioner Poland?
I guess we probably need to make a formal declaration that I propose that we make 2 changes. The first being the second bullet item, the bulletin board located at the west entrance of the Civic Center complex will temporarily be moved to the north entrance of the Civic Center complex until construction is done. And then the fourth bullet item, the Libraryton bulletin board will temporarily be an official posting location until the construction is done.
Okay, all right. Commissioner Teta?
I had an item for clarification. The maybe for Jane, maybe for Don, the front desk reception area of Development Services Center upon request, is that Does that ever get done? Who would request that, and where does that happen, and is that?
So anyone can come into the Development Service Center. We don't have a bulletin board hanging in anywhere in there, but they can come in and the front counter can print them a copy of the agenda if they'd like to see one. So there's always someone at the front counter who could provide that to them. We just don't have a bulletin board to hang stuff on at the Development Services Center, an official bulletin board, so.
Okay. All right. So we, Commissioner Flake?
If in fact it's not a posting per se location, then perhaps what we have to do is remove that front desk reception area of the Development Services Center upon request to an additional statement down below saying upon request, these items may be obtained at the front desk reception area of Development Services Center. I think that makes it more clear, because people will walk in there and expect to see a bulletin board, and it's not there. So if we can move that line, in addition, it's because you have additional posting locations, and then say, in addition, these items are available.
Okay. Commissioner Poland?
Or would it be better, instead of saying it, since we need to make change to the Facebook, Twitter accounts, or we're looking into that, would be better than to take, because that's really, as we've discussed, not a posting location either. Would be better to say additional locations where this information can also be found. Or obtained. Can be obtained.
Sure.
Something like that. Jane?
Right. So, so what I'm hearing is that Commissioner Poland has stated how the language would be changed for the official posting locations, and then Commissioner Flake and Commissioner Poland are talking about breaking this into basically 3 sections: the official locations, additional posting locations, and then an indication of other ways in which the information can be obtained. So given all those changes, I'm going to make a motion to approve those changes. Do we have a second on that? Commissioner Poland.
I will second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Poland. Let's take a vote. All those in favor say aye. 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 Any opposed? Any abstained? Passes unanimously. Didn't realize that would be a big discussion, but thank you. Okay, so on to approval of our December 18, 2019 regular meeting minutes. Do we have any discussion on that? Commissioner Teta.
I'll move that we approve those minutes.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes. Do we have a second? I'll go ahead. Commissioner Flake? Seconded by Commissioner Flake. Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's take a vote by voice. All those in favor say aye. If you were not at the meeting, please do abstain. All those in favor say aye. 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 All those opposed? Any abstentions? 2 abstentions, Commissioner Glover and Commissioner Lukacs. All right. Thank you. Next is item 10 on our agenda, the Riverset annexation with Senior Planner Karen Bryant or Don Burchett, our planning manager.
Commission, first we want to just apologize that this item, we were unable to complete the information to make sure it was in your packet, so we had to work with the applicant to push this to the next meeting. So it will be on your next meeting in February, and so that was something that we could not have any control over that happened that had delayed this project. So again, our apologies, but we were at least able to identify that before the notices to the public had gone out other than in your agenda. So that's why we included that in your packet. So thank you.
So given that, do we need to make a formal continuance to next month?
Chairman Shermack, I don't believe you do, since we did not do any of the public noticing through
Right, okay.
the mailings or posting the properties. We didn't start that process. If we had that gone to that point and then had this occur then we would have needed to continue it, but none of the adjacent property owners within the notification area were notified of the hearing tonight.
Okay, all right, great. All right, thank you. So we'll move on to item 11, which is Boulder County Temporary Stockpile Conditional Use Site Plan, PZR 2020-1, with planner Ashley Green.
Thank you, Chairman Shernick and Commissioners. I'm Ashley Green with the Planning and Development Services. Tonight for your consideration, we'll be looking at the Boulder County Temporary Stockpile Conditional Use Site Plan. The proposal is to temporarily stockpile approximately 20,000 cubic yards of flood deposited aggregate for use in a future flood mitigation project. So this project's located south of St. Vrain Road between Airport Road and 75th Street at 5201 St. Vrain Road. The property encompasses a little under 40 acres. It currently houses administrative offices and maintenance facilities for the Boulder County Parks and Transportation Departments. Envision Longmont designates this property as primary employment. This site takes primary access from St. Vrain Road, which is designated as a collector street on the Envision Longmont plan. The property is zoned non-residential primary employment. This project falls into the use category of transportation depot, trucking terminal, or distribution center. This use is permitted as a conditional use in the NPE zoning district. The properties surrounding the parcel to the north, east, and west are zoned Boulder County agricultural zoning, and the parcel to the south is zoned public and is the Vance Brand Airport. The current conditions on the site conform to the originally approved site plan. The original OSTC site plan approved material stockpiles, though this proposal would allow stockpiling in a location that was not originally proposed for this purpose. The proposed stockpile location is currently unirrigated, mowed, native prairie grass, as is the access route, which you can see there. Doesn't quite work right. Okay. So the scope of this project entails hauling in and stockpiling material from a Boulder County managed project from 2013 that was located out west of the town of Hygiene on 61st Street in unincorporated Boulder County. The county's contractor will haul material from flood-damaged lakes to the OSTC to temporarily stockpile it until it's used in another location for another county-led restoration project. The stockpile would be located in an area approximately 200 feet by 375 feet and would be about 8 feet tall. Erosion control measures will be in place per the stormwater construction activity permit, and dust and weed control measures will be in place per the fugitive dust plan and weed management plan. The material hauling would occur Monday through Friday between 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. It would take approximately 3 weeks between February 1st, 2020 and May 15th, 2020. The stockpile would then be removed over a 3-week period during the time period of October 1st, 2020 and April 15th, 2021. At the completion of the project, the site will be reclaimed to its original state of mowed prairie grass. Within 14 days of the removal of the stockpile, the site will be reseeded and monitored for revegetation. We sent referral requests to Colorado Parks and Wildlife and to U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. We received a response from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service stating that they had no concerns regarding the proposal. At the neighborhood meeting, one member of the public attended and he asked questions regarding the application. Subsequent to mailing out notices of the development application to property owners within 1,000 feet of the subject property and posting the property, staff did not receive any correspondence in regards to the application. Subsequent to mailing out notices of public hearing to property owners within 1,000 feet of the subject property and posting the property, staff did not receive any correspondence in regards to the application. Given the temporary nature of the application, staff is recommending one condition that solidifies the date by which the stockpile must be removed as April 15th, 2021. This recommended condition is reflected in PZR 2021B. So staff would like to take the opportunity to note that in the report that was provided to you in your packet, we outlined the review criteria that must be met for this application. However, one criterion was not mentioned in the report, and that's criteria number 5, which states that the application, where required, complies with the sustainability evaluation system requirements to mitigate impacts of development within the city's riparian areas. Staff would like to clarify that this criteria is not applicable in this application. The Planning and Zoning Commission is the decision-making body for this application. The choices for the commission are as follows. 1 is to approve the conditional use site plan without conditions, finding that the applicable review criteria have been met as reflected in PZR 2021A. The second is to approve the conditional use site plan with conditions, finding that the applicable review criteria have been met but require conditions of approval to fully comply with the criteria as reflected in 2021B. And the third is to deny the conditional use site plan, finding that the applicable review criteria have not been met as reflected in PZR 2021C. Staff is recommending that the Planning and Zoning Commission approve the Boulder County Temporary Stockpile Conditional Use Site Plan with the condition reflected in PZR 2021B. So with that, I'd like to invite the applicant up for his presentation, and staff will be available to answer any questions following that.
Great, thank you,
Thank you.
Ashley.
Thanks, Ashley. Thanks, you did it all, so I'm ready, good to go. Appreciate you guys having me. Thank you. My name is Obadiah Broughton, and I'll be representing Boulder County Parks and Open Space Department on this proposal and project. Sure. Cool. I have a deep, loud voice. So. Anyways, a quick little agenda for you guys. I'll go for a quick project overview, touch base on the review criteria that Ashley touched base on, tell you our anticipated schedule, then open up for any questions if you have, if you have any. Quick project overview. Ashley touched on it again, but it's a temporary stockpile of up to 20,000 cubic yards of flood deposited stream cobble that's currently in Lake 4, which is on Boulder County Parks and Open Space property west of Hygiene, west of North 61st Street. We are currently in the process of doing a flood recovery restoration project there. There was about 220,000 cubic yards of flood debris that came down from the canyons and through the floodplain there, deposited in the Lake 4 area. So we're currently doing a restoration project on that. And the materials, part of that material, about 20,000, up to 20,000 cubic yards, most likely be around 10,000, it's looking like, would be brought to our OST site in Longmont there on Airport Road and stockpiled to be used in an upcoming county partner project called the Niwot Ditch Diversion Reconstruction Project, which is in the St. Vrain Creek. I'll show you a little bit where that is. Just for reference, here's our project site for the Lake 4 Westlake A-Frame Dam project that we're currently doing restoration work on. The Boulder County Open Space Transportation Complex is right down here on Airport Road. And then Niwot Ditch Diversion, where this sediment when we moved to, is just literally across the street from the proposed stockpile on the St. Vrain Creek. Briefly, the purpose of this stockpile is kind of twofold for both projects that it's related to. One would be part of our why we're restoring Lake 4 is it's a water storage reservoir that's jointly owned by Boulder County and the St. Vrain Left-Hand Water Conservation District. And so it's a jurisdictional reservoir and has a jurisdictional dam on it, or will be when we're done with this project. So we need to restore the water storage in there and delivery function by removing the exposed sediment that's in there. So there's a 200 and some odd thousand cubic yards of soil in that lake currently. And the work that we're doing on these lakes will make these lakes this lake and the adjacent lakes more resilient to future high flow events and flood events. The Lake 4 is going to have a spillway, and the downstream lakes will have spillways installed in them as well. And then the reason we're bringing some of the material to the county site is to work on this, I guess it's a failing water diversion structure for the Niwot Ditch Company. That's their diversion on the St. Vrain Creek. I guess it saw some damage during the floods. It's in need of some repair. The county's working with Niwot Ditch Company, which I believe majority shareholders are the city of Longmont, as well as some of the local other ditches. I'm not too familiar with that project, honestly, but it's to help reduce flood risk, repair that diversion, allow fish passage, and hopefully promote natural stream processes. And some of the benefits of us using the stockpile for material, when we can use it for the project, so it's a huge cost savings for the Niwot Ditch project. They don't have to go out and acquire 20,000 cubic yards of sediment, more than just having a contractor bring it across the street. It's a local location to dispose of the sediment instead of hauling it way off site or out of the county, potentially. And again, I think I touched on that. It makes the project a little more affordable for the Niwot Ditch Company and Boulder County. And a little quick overview of our project site. Here's Lake 4. It's about half full of sediment right now. This was Lake 3. We're working on repairing the embankment between these two. So the majority of this sediment is going to be moved on site, and we'll use it to repair an embankment here, a breach embankment here. This was West Lake. We'll repair this embankment. Here's A-frame. We're actually going to repair this whole flood scar here, and this is North 61st Street. So we're actively working on this project currently. And a little close-up view of the stockpile on just south of St. Vrain Road. Here's St. Vrain Creek and the Niwot Ditch project. Again, it's up to 20,000 cubic yards of material. And the material, basically, one of the questions I got last time, it's stream cobble. So it's like sands and gravels up to rocks about 6 inches in size. It'll probably be approximately, if we do the full 20,000 cubic yards, about 200 feet by 375 feet and about 8 feet tall. And to comply with the MS4 stormwater permit, erosion control measures such as silt fence will be implemented around it. We also plan to mitigate any dust impacts from stockpile, is covering the stockpile and stabilizing them with a hydro mulch tackifier. And we'll do that as soon as we get it all delivered. Some of the dates are a little broad here for a 2 to 3 week time period. This all depends how our current construction project is moving along. So we'd hope to haul between March 1st, more or less, and June, at some point of 2020. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks, we're assuming, to get all the material there. The contractor thinks no more than 95 truck trips a day, which I think is high. It'll probably be less than that, just in the reality of it. And then again, hauling would be between 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. This is also a Boulder County Transportation Department requirement. So we're currently hauling to the site materials right now to the Lake 4 project. And we follow those haul hours. And then again, the final duration and timing to get material off the site is kind of dependent on the Niwot project. But we anticipate it'll be in the fall or spring of next year, so 2020 and 2021. And we will definitely get everything out of there by April 15th. 2020. So for this project, that's the day they turn on the ditch. So it'll have to be done by then. A little bit just to kind of get a close-up of the site. That's about the perimeter of it. And it's currently actually not even non-native, or not a native, it's just a pasture grass field right now that the county mows periodically. Potential haul route from the 61st Street Road to Hygiene Road down 75th onto St. Vrain Road and into the county stockpile area. I already showed this map. So those are kind of project details. I'm not totally up on all the review criteria, but from what I understand, the project meets all the applicable review criteria. The conditional site plan, Stockdale is generally consistent with the land use designation. The project's going to be temporary. And, one thing, the county currently stockpiles materials on the other sites of this project. So, again, feel it meets all review criteria. The project complies with applicable city standards. We don't plan on doing any utility changes or street changes. Already an established access. If we need any water to stabilize the stockpile, we plan on trucking it in, most likely right there from the county's maintenance facility. And we will use temporary traffic controls for bringing the material in and then off the site. We have an approved traffic control plan with the City of Longmont staff and as well as our Boulder County Transportation Department for the larger county roads around the project. Pedestrian access is not really required, and we do have parking on site. We have our own parking lot there, and then the contractor will park inside the silt fenced area once they establish the perimeters of the project site. I also feel the proposed project is compatible with the surrounding properties in terms of land use, site layout, and design. Currently, there's county office buildings and a maintenance facility, the airport. Adjacent to the project site of the property is residential and agricultural properties. Previously, this location was used to stockpile material when they built the county facility. And it was previously restored, and we plan to restore it in a similar fashion when we're done. And again, we do have a traffic control plan. I think I mentioned that already. And we plan to restore and reseed the area within 2 weeks of the project's the stockpile being removed in either late 2020 or early 2021. And this criteria, stockpile, again, not be accessible to public, has established access. There will be a weight restriction of 32,000 pounds per axle for the haul trucks, which is typical for the roads around there. And then we do have a traffic control plan. Our schedule currently, we had an open house back in August 2019. Tonight we're here with you folks. If this gets approved, we hope to prepare the stockpile site late winter in the next month or so or two. Haul materials to the site either later this winter, spring, potentially in the early summer. We would stabilize it in the spring, summer of 20, and then remove it again in the fall, winter of 2020, 2021. One of the reasons for some of these dates here at the end being a little not finalized is the design and permitting kind of circumstances or processes with the Niwot diversion project haven't been finalized yet. And so it's a little bit on hold, knowing exactly. Originally, when we first submitted this application, we'd hoped to do it this winter, spring, but with the work on that project has to be done during kind of when the ditch is basically being used, and Niwot uses their ditch and all the farmers around there from April 15th to October 15th. So they couldn't get their project finalized in time to do it this year, this water year, so they'll be doing it next water year is the hope. And I'm the contact for this project. If you have any questions about the greater Niwot Ditch Diversion Project, which I'm not too up on, other county planner, Sarah Hearharts, can be reached to ask questions about that project. And then again, I'm also the contact on the larger Lake 4 restoration project. Are there any questions?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Broughton. Thanks for the presentation. Any clarifying questions at this time? This is a public hearing item, so we will go to a public hearing. Commissioner Teta.
Yeah, while you're up, Mr. Broughton, I just wanted to ask you, the route for the trucking of the materials is, and I realize a lot of this is probably not within the city, it's county, but it's east on Hygiene Road to 75th, and then south on 75th to St. Vrain.
Correct.
And then southeast on St. Vrain Road, right?
Correct, yep.
And, okay,
Avoiding the town of Hygiene proper. So,
just barely, right.
yeah, barely. Unfortunately,
Okay.
that's southern end, but all of our hauling, we've done a number of projects in this location last few years, flood recovery, and we've done our best to alert the public and then avoid the town going through by the school and Hygiene. So.
And just real quick for the transportation, you mentioned that there might be something done to facilitate that transportation traffic-wise. Do you have an idea what that would wind up being?
Yes, we will have signage out there on the St. Vrain Road. We'll have signage on Hygiene Road as well. And 75th saying trucks are turning. We'll do a little public notice on the county's transportation website that will hauling traffic will increase and come into that area. It's kind of actually part of our county permit. We have to do that, but we'll sync that with this project. Get the material here, if needed, with our contractor. These transportation plans they're living documents and they evolve as we go. So if we see we need with flaggers or something to that effect, say in front of the temporary stockpile location on St. Vrain Road, we would have them employ flaggers for the heavy truck traffic.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Glover?
Yeah, you said there'd be 95 trips. Is that one way or is that round trips?
I believe that would be round trips.
Okay, so basically from a transportation planning standpoint, that's 190 trips. If you were standing out there by the road, trucks would go by you 190 times.
I think it's the other way around. I don't think they can get that many trucks there in a day, but I have to do the math. So it'd probably maybe like 50 trips. So we're talking maybe 7 hours of hauling. Is it 8:30 to 4:30? Load time.
Okay, I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, I'd have to double check.
What we're really talking about there. Okay.
Commissioner Poland?
Mr. Brown, I just want to make sure that I understand that come April 15th of every year, the Niwot ditch is opened up, which is why there's a hard date of April 15th. That's how that date came to be, because of the ditch.
I believe so. That's what I've been told. Yes.
So there's really no. So because I was wondering if how much wiggle room there was, but really that's.
Yeah, to do that in Niwot.
It's a hard stop.
It's a pretty darn hard stop. Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Working
you.
with these ditch companies.
All right, this is a public hearing item, so I want to open the public hearing. Well,
Sure.
I'm sure we'll have a few more questions for you.
Okay. Should I take a seat?
Yes, please.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you.
If there's anybody signed up? Nobody's signed up to speak on this item, but if somebody's in the audience who'd like to come forward and speak about it, we'd love to hear from you. Please state your name and address for the record, and we'll have 5 minutes to hear from you.
Excuse me. My name is David Schenk, P.O. Box 464, Longmont. I think this is a really bad waste of taxpayer money. That material has been there for a little over 6 years now. All of a sudden, it's important to move it. It's the cost of tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars and plunk it down, and then come back a few months later, pick it up again at an additional cost to the taxpayers and move it a second time across the roads with more traffic, obviously 95 trucks making one round trip is 2 a day. It's just a very, very poor use of taxpayer money. They're going to take a perfectly good site that has vegetation. It works as rainfall mitigation. They're going to fill that up for a period of time. We don't know how long. Maybe 3 months, maybe a year. And then they're going to spend money to reestablish that. It's just a terrible waste of money. I mean, that stuff has been there. It's less than 10% of the total material there. It's been there for 6 years. And all of a sudden, it's important to find a temporary place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schenk. Is there anybody else who would like to come forward and speak? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing and go back to questions and discussion amongst the commission. Mr. Broughton, I do have some questions, but we might have to pull up some of Ashley's pictures. Ashley, could you get back to your presentation where you have the aerial image of the transportation center showing the streets and where the access to the site would? Yeah, that one. Yes, please. If you could, yeah, that's great. Thank you, Mr. Broughton. I'm wondering if you could clarify why would the trucks not come down the paved road? Why do they have to go across the culvert?
Right here.
Yeah.
As
Why?
opposed to here.
Yes, exactly.
We looked at this option. A number of reasons. One, it's a pretty heavily used during work hours by county open space staff and county transportation staff. There's already truck traffic, employees, parking, things of that. Folks come into the open space office. There's also a curb and gutter here. And so that would most likely involve cutting that infrastructure to get these trucks over it. And we also didn't really know how they would turn around, make a turn right here. It's pretty darn tight. Potentially could work something out. Up here, we felt that this is already, it was used as an access before. It has an apron for getting trucks in and out off of it. It does have that culvert right here, but I believe that culvert was in place when they did the original work, and it sustained up. There was a stockpile about half this size at one point during the construction.
Okay, and we can even see this in the satellite image here that there seem to be some trees along that original access point that have grown up, and in one of the point of view shots in our packet, it appears that either the trucks are going to be dodging those trees, or do you have plans to cut those trees down?
Yeah, most likely. Probably this one little tree right here. This one tree would need to be cut down for the trucks to avoid it. It's a landscape tree currently.
Okay. Now this is county property, right?
Correct.
Right. So does the county have something in its requirements if you do cut down a tree that you have to restore it?
We didn't have to deal with that for this I'm not sure,
Okay.
to be honest with you. Yeah.
All right.
We do plan to do all sorts of restoration, on this pasture grass site.
Okay. And you mentioned in one of the review criteria that this site would be inaccessible to the public. One of my concerns is safety. I mean, I don't know if people ever go out there on the weekends when staff is gone. But how would you keep people from, say, climbing on this, and how safe is an 8-foot tall pile of cobble and sand from collapsing on somebody?
Yeah. Well, during the construction or during the hauling, we'll have the orange construction fence delineating the haul route all the way out, both sides of this haul route right there, coming out. approximately this location, there'll be silt fence installed around the whole project, so the 3-foot-high black silt fence.
Okay.
And that'll tie in, so the trucks will have traffic here. I think on the weekends, we could close off the construction access probably right about here. Typically how we do it on these projects. And then when the project's final, the 3 weeks of getting the material there, we'd button up that project with silt fence all the way around it. So it'd be a self-contained spot, and someone would have to, couldn't stop someone from jumping over a 3-foot fence, I guess, but that's what they'd have to do. They have to come walk, across the field on the county property and jump over a silt fence.
Okay. I know that every type of material has its own angle of repose. It's basically an angle beyond which you can't stack it without it collapsing upon itself. I can't quite make out in the lower right, but it looks like it's about 45 degrees or so.
Yeah.
In your experience, because it sounds like you've worked with some stockpiling of material before, have you had any issues with any sort of collapses of piles like this?
I personally have not. No.
Okay, all right. And is this something that you've discussed with the hauling company, that they do stack it right?
Yes, for sure. It's in the specifications of the project. And 8 foot's a pretty standard height for these types of stockpiles, like temporary stockpiles on the project site, typically kept around there, following that angle of repose as well. So they're pretty accustomed to doing that, the contractor. And so that's the plan. They're actually talking to potentially at the top, you can kind of settle it a little bit, so it's a little concave at the top. So water will help. Any water that lands on top, snow melt will filter down into it.
Okay.
And help solidify the stockpile.
Got it. Back to Commissioner Tetta's question about notifying residents along the haul route, the proposed haul route. So how do you notify them other than putting it on the county website? I mean, do you actually push out a notification to them?
Yes. We can do a number of different ways. We push out, I believe, through our county open space communications department, as well as in conjunction with the transportations, kind of road closure and road work folks on the county's website. We'll push out I think they have a listserv email list that's kind of based on geographic location. They do Twitter feeds, put on the county's Twitter feed, push it out to different listserv Twitter feeds. We can do mailers as well. Just currently sent out letters. Did this very similar thing for upcoming closure of 61st Street, actually, for this other project. So we do have multiple ways, and we do utilize them.
Okay, all right. And then finally, to Mr. Schenk's point, why can't this be done with just one single haul from Lake 4 to the Niwot Ditch Diversion Project?
Yeah, the short answer is it's really hard to time these projects to where they were. I mean, that would be the ideal for the county, for the partners on the Niwot project. I think everyone would love to be able to haul the material from the Lake 4 project to the Niwot project and utilize it right away. But unfortunately, timing due to design and engineering restraints, permitting constraints, funding constraints for both projects. The Lake 4 project's partially funded by FEMA as a disaster recovery project. So unfortunately, it hasn't worked out to tie that in. I think that was our ultimate goal originally, is to try to do that. And the stockpile was kind of a secondary, still is, I'd say, kind of a secondary, can't come to the right word. It's not our ideal situation.
Right.
But unfortunately, and that's kind of where how it looks like it's playing out. And then for getting that material, as it's a jurisdictional dam, and we're moving that 20,000 cubic yards currently, it has to be moved to fix this, to do that dam restoration project. So
Is there still the possibility in this project where if the stars aligned right, that you could do it in one haul?
it's not looking that way. I would have,
Okay.
you know, it's kind of gone up and down over the last year or so of talking about this internally, that the stars could align, but it's not looking that way right now. They're still having some circumstances over the design and also permitting of the other project. We're ready to rock and roll right now. We could bring the material tomorrow if we had this permit and they were ready for it. But unfortunately, the other project's not ready right now.
Okay, so the holdup is the Lake 4 project.
I'm sorry, the holdup is the Niwot Bits
Or the-
Diversion Reconstruction
okay,
Project.
All right, the other way around.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, well, I won't try to redesign your project planning for you. I think that's it on my questions. Any further questions for Mr. Broughton or for Planner Green? Any discussion, motions, thoughts? Commissioner Poland.
Thank you. Seeing that there's no further discussion, I do believe that the reasons that they have given for why this can't be a one-move project are valid, that there does need to be a temporary storage area. This area has been used in the past as a temporary storage area. I don't see any major conflicts with anything around it. I do find that this does meet review criteria code section 1502055, items 1 through 5. And because of that, I move that we approve PZR 2021B with the provision that the stockpile shall be removed from the site by April 15th, 2021.
Okay, we have a motion to approve PZR 2020-1B. Do we have further discussion or a second? Commissioner Flagg? Sure.
From Boulder County. I've been thinking in terms of wind and those trucks that you're going to be running up and down the roads and that pile of dirt.
Okay.
What is the provision against wind?
Well, all the loads will be covered when they leave the Lake 4 project. They'll be covered all the way to the project site and for the disposal. So that hopes to mitigate any blowing gravel, sand off of the trucks as they're driving. It's standard practice in the industry. And then at the site, to address any kind of wind concerns, we're planning on to almost immediately. As we're building the stockpile, it's going to take a couple of weeks for that to happen. In our contract with our contractor, we have a requirement that they use water to water the pile down. And then once the pile is established, they will be spraying with a hydromulch tackifier. And hydromulch is a standard practice in the industry to stabilize slopes. Say in construction sites, you'll see it's the green spray-on mulch. We looked at potentially wood chips or covering it in fabric, like erosion control fabric. But the input we got from the project engineers and some of our actual restoration ecologists with the county felt that hydromulch would be the best to stabilize it. And so that we'll spray that on it. It hardens very quickly, and we'll monitor it over the next period of time until the pile's removed. Part of our permit is that erosion control and dust control mitigations. We'll be monitoring it, doing monthly inspections at the least.
So for, say, a resident located in that area who notes that a truck goes down the road and it's not covered, or that whatever is mitigating the wind on site is not working so well, and suddenly they're noticing that dirt is getting blown, how would they know who to contact in that event?
I don't don't know, we could put a sign out in front.
Can you post that?
We
at the
totally could.
site?
We do that on our other projects. We could put a sign out front of that entrance saying, you know, what this is, my contact information on it, or somebody else at the county open space department. We currently do that at our main Lake 4 project right now. We have a big project sign at our 2 entrances, so people have concerns, they know who to get hold of. So yeah, we could definitely do that.
Okay, thank you.
I just have one more clarifying question. Can you list for me who the who's involved in the project? Okay, I mean, you've got 2 projects. You've mentioned FEMA. You've mentioned the ditch company. There's of course the county, but then also give me an idea as to what the ratio of the funding of the project is by each of these entities, approximately.
That's deep. So I know the Lake 4 project more intimately. The Lake 4 project is, let me start. So it's a Boulder County sponsored project. Boulder County is the main project proponent. Part of that project, that project actually is kind of like 4 sub projects, based on how FEMA declared a disaster out there and decided to give funding to these projects. So we have the Lake 4 project, which is a partnership between Boulder County Parks and Open Space and the St. Vrain Left-Hand Water Conservation District or Conservancy District, here based in Longmont. So we're project partners, co-project partners on that project. The Westlake Dam rehabilitation, which is the next lake downstream. That's a Boulder County specific project, or we're calling it kind of a sub-project. And then the A-Frame Dam project, which is the next one downstream that's right on the edge of 61st Street. That's a Boulder County specific project. And then the 4th project again a joint project with Left Hand St. Vrain Water Conservation District and Boulder County. And there's an outlet pipeline out of the Lake 4 Reservoir that goes under the Westlake Lake, the A-Frame Lake, and under 61st Street is how the St. Vrain Conservation District puts their water, augments the creek for their water users. So they actually have an outlet pipe that comes in, will outlet on the edge of the St. Vrain Creek. And so we're partnering with them on those 2 projects, and the county's sole. We combined them for construction as one project with the county managing that project, County Open Space Department. I'm not sure about the outlet pipeline, but definitely the Lake 4 project, Westlake project, and A-Frame project are funded by FEMA. I believe 75% of the project costs are FEMA. And then the county and the district split the other 25%, so 12.5% each. Again, I'm not super sure of all the funding, but I believe there's also a loan for the district acquired a loan from the Colorado Water Conservation Board for a portion of their funding for this project. And then I think that's it, how those work out, the Lake 4 project. The Niwot Ditch Diversion Project, and more in-depth questions, I definitely reach out to Sarah Searharth, the planner I mentioned in the slideshow. But from my understanding of that project, it's, I believe, Trout Unlimited is a partner in that, CPW, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I'm pretty sure U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and CPW are throwing some funding in. I believe the county is throwing funding in. And then the Niwot Ditch company is also a project partner on that. I'm not sure how the funding all breaks down with those projects.
Right. Okay, thank you. That gives me a much better idea as to the complexity that you're up against in terms of the timing that you're talking about with, I mean, you know, we said, well, can all the stars align? But you're talking 5 entities just on the Niwot Ditch project alone.
Yep.
you know, I appreciate you letting us know just how complex your organization of getting all of that together at the same time is. Because I think that what I'm trying to get at is back to Mr. Schenk's comments of, you know, why couldn't this be one hall? And I'm starting to understand better why you're saying we can't do it in one hall.
Yeah, we've tried.
Okay. All right. Okay. Any other discussion or comments? We do have a motion on the floor to approve PZR 2020-1B. Do we have a second for that motion? Commissioner Flagg? Seconded by Commissioner Flagg. If there's no further discussion, let's take a vote on our boxes here. Did I? Oh, okay, never mind. It's hard to read the graph that I get. It looks like that voted passed unanimously for. And so this item now enters a 7-day appeal period. During this time, any aggrieved party may appeal the commission's decision by submitting a written appeal letter stating why the Planning and Zoning Commission's decision should be amended or reversed by City Council. All appeals must be in writing and must be received in the City Clerk's office and the Planning Office within the 7-day appeal period, which begins Thursday, January 16 at 8 a.m. and ends Wednesday, January 22 at 5 p.m. Mr. Broughton, thank you very much for stepping us through the project. Good luck to you as you proceed. Ashley, thank you for helping us through it as well. We'll move on with our agenda once I get back to it here. Next item is our final call for the public invited to be heard. If anybody in the public wants to come forward and speak about an item that was not on the agenda tonight, now's the time to do so. Seeing nobody coming forward, we'll close the final call for public invited to be heard. Any items from the commission? Commissioner Teta.
Yeah, I thought maybe we could talk quickly about the 15th Street project that I forgot the member of the public's name that she brought up. That I just I know we looked at that project. Was it a site plan review? Do you recall?
Actually, before we go further with this, Planning Manager Burchett, I believe this project's not come in front of us yet, and so any further discussion might actually prejudice us or be ex parte.
I apologize, and
No,
I thought it was
okay.
it was a site plan review. Is that what we looked at?
Chairman Chernak, Commissioner Teta, you had neighbors that came. I believe we had about 5 or 6 at one meeting that brought this up around summertime, and they were asking the commission to consider changing the comprehensive plan and the zoning for that property so that the project could not happen. And then at that time, we had not had an application in. Since then, the application has recently been submitted to the city. It's being reviewed. Comments are supposed to be sent to the project manager by the end of the month. And at this time, I cannot guarantee that it will not be coming to you for review. So that's all I can probably tell you at this time.
And what's the name of the project that's just been submitted? Do you know? Because I think what Commissioner Ted is remembering is the Terry Street Apartments that did come in front of us.
Yeah, well, that was one. Yeah, and that's not really next door, but a parcel away.
Yeah. Right.
Yes. We've known this as the Faith Baptist development. Let me just check real quick for the name. Hold on.
Okay.
So currently, the name that we have it's known as the 15th Avenue Multifamily And then in parentheses, Faith Baptist.
Okay.
We're creative on that one.
Okay, so that's the one we've not seen yet, and
That's correct.
we might not see, depending how it goes.
It is possible that you will not see it, but I
Okay.
cannot guarantee that.
Right. Okay. Does that help, Commissioner Tito?
Yeah, it does. I couldn't be sure if the member of the public was ahead of or behind the curve
Sure.
on that, and I didn't want to not address it. So.
Okay. Any other items from the commission? Nope. Okay. Items from Council Representative Rodriguez? Nope. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Appreciate it. And items from our planning manager, Don Burchett?
I have none.
You have none. So unless anybody objects, we're adjourned.